ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, you can't get wrong at all with a pair of 57s. A pair of Super Bowl offensive linemen and Ironmen with a combined 331 starts in Bear uniforms. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. We're brought to you by Miller Lite. Tom Thayer, 133 games, including 130 straight starts at right guard, and one of the best centers in NFL history. Six-time Pro Bowler, 06 first-team All-Pro. Olin Kreutz, number 27 on the Bears 100 list. Our guest, 198 games, 191 starts in a Bears uniform. First start against the Packers. Season finale, Soldier Field. Finished on a streak of 136 straight starts. And this is episode 147 on the Bears Etc. podcast. Good to have you. Olin, the only reason I'm bringing up all that stuff is because it's rare. Certainly in today's game, and I'll give you some statistical proof of that, but you guys were both Ironmen. Thank you for taking the time to join us, talk a little ball, talk about what's going on in your life and Chicago Bears football.
Well, I got an email that said, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer. And I said, man, it'd be my pleasure to jump on with you guys. I mean, you guys were doing it when I was there. So it's always an honor to be on with you guys. You guys are the real, as you guys know, I do some of this analyst stuff nowadays, and you guys are the real OGs of this work and guys that I've listened to and learned a lot from. So this is a pleasure for me, honestly.
We were looking forward to it, believe me, when we found out this was going to go down. I bring up the Iron Man angle for this reason. Detroit Lions last year were by far the only team in the league to have the same starting five offensive linemen for the most snaps. They were at 80% of snaps. And the next closest team, and I don't remember, it was like 55% in this league. Now, you guys wouldn't have it back in your day. I mean, you had appendix removed. You were in the lineup the next week. Olin, do you find that one of the biggest changes in offensive line in the current NFL landscape?
Yeah, I mean, guys playing every week, playing through injuries. I mean, you could say guys are a lot smarter nowadays, right? The doctors know a lot more. I remember playing through a high ankle sprain, probably shouldn't have, right? Basically, I was useless that game, but went to Detroit in the last game of the year, played with a high ankle sprain, couldn't really walk on that leg. I don't know if they'd let you do that nowadays. So a lot of times, people are always talking to you about extending your career, your life after football. You know, in my day, and especially in Tom's day, we weren't smart enough to talk about those things. I mean, guys nowadays know the name of every muscle on their body, right? If you would have told me, Olin, work on your psoas back then, I talked about the dinosaur. I didn't know what that was, a psoas. Maybe that was some kind of food at a buffet somewhere. But
what is it? What is it, by the way? Educate me.
It's your hip flexor. It's your hip flexor. It runs from your hip to the middle of your spine, right? But see, I know that nowadays. An idiot like me knows it. That means everyone knows it. I went to this Gridiron Greats. It was a great event. They put me in their Hall of Fame, but they help players in dire need. And my daughter, I said, "What are you doing, Dad?" I was in my office, and I said, "I'm working on giving a speech at Gridiron Great." She looked at me, she shook her head, and she goes, "ChatGPT, Dad, just punch your name in." and sure enough, man, you do that, and they came up with a speech for that exact event. And I only tell you that because that's what these guys have nowadays, right? Google, what do you have? What's wrong with you? Should you play with this? Should you play with that? We didn't know those things. Took a lot of pride in playing every game, honestly. I remember we played the Minnesota Vikings one year. I think it was 2005. Remember, we had a bye. We were going up there to play Minnesota, and we already were set in. We're going to bye, and we're going to play the next week. And Lovey called me, and he said, "We're not going to play this week. You have a sprained ankle." I said, "The hell you're not. The hell you're not going to play me this week." Especially you guys knew how I felt about Pat Williams. Didn't really like him when I played and really wanted to play against him. And I said, "I am not taking myself out of a game against Pat Williams." And there was an argument there for a while, right? And really just really my argument to Lovey was, this is why I train all year. This is why I work so hard in the weight room. I want to play every game. If the starter's out there, I want to be out there. And like you're saying, Jeff, things are changed. It's your opinion whether it's better or for worse. Old timer like me, I like to see guys play every game, get on the field with their teammates, get out there. And, the Bears talk a lot about culture, and you're talking about culture.
Olin, there's few guys in the history of my broadcasting career, which is 29 years, that I admire as much as you. And I'm only telling you this because we're on Zoom. But the reason is, the reason is, Olin, and you talk about the culture, the requirements you put on the rest of the offensive line room, and they kind of filtered over to the rest of the team, but that whole all for one and one for all attitude, I think that's what's missing from the game today. And if they could have someone that led by example like you did, because when I would sit on the bus and I would be watching the team getting ready to travel or being in a game and watching all you guys come out, I really appreciated that, man, and I think that's something that's missing in the game today. And for all the guys that we've been around, for what you did for this organization, this team, in terms of the culture and the requirements that you put on their back, I think that's something that's hard to replace nowadays.
First of all, I appreciate it and being respected, as you know, Jeff, by a guy like Tom. It means the world to a former football player like me. But, we also had a great locker room. As you guys know, you guys were there, man. We had names. We had Roberto Garza. We had Ruben Brown, Brian Urlacher, Peanut Tillman, Lance Briggs, Mike Brown. There were so many leaders there that leading on that team was easy. Right, and setting the tempo every day and getting guys to follow, because you had so many guys who believed in the same things and believed in playing football. And like you're saying, it's changed, right? I coach a lot of little league football, coach high school football the last 3 years. Some of these high school guys are getting paid now, right? I got 2 sons who play for Illinois. One's a starting center, one's battling for a linebacker job. They get paid over there at Illinois, and keeping them moving in the right direction, keeping them worried about the right stuff. I always tell them, worry about being good in football, and nothing else really matters, and everything else will fall into place. So it's a different world we live in now with social media and the culture and the way things are done. But like you're saying, Tom, the same thing still win in football. And can you find it? Can you find it? Can you go out there and find somebody? And I always say this, I don't know if you guys agree. When you talk about culture, players build your culture. You have to draft culture, right? You want guys who lift weights, you better draft someone who lifts weights, right? You want guys who hit people on every play, they better be hitting guys on every play on the film. Like, you're not going to create that when they walk in the building. I think players make your culture. Obviously, coaches do too. I know the Bears have a new coaching staff up there trying to get things moving in the right direction. But man, I appreciate you saying that. But we really, really had a good locker room, good coaching staff. Lovey really, really empowered us to lead. Really gave us a locker room and let us go from there.
This podcast brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Olin, what, the dedicated player that you were, and now you're a father of dedicated football players, what game is harder for you to watch? The film of you playing or the live action of your kids playing?
The live action will wear me out, man. I mean, the film of me, I just think it's funny, Tom, because I always realized I wasn't as good as I thought I was whenever I turned the film on. I'm like, hey, I didn't even know I got beat there. I don't even remember that, right? So I only remember the good plays, and my kids always laugh at me because I'll turn the film on, and my boys will be like, I thought you said you never got beat. And I said, my mind, that didn't even happen. But I remember last year, the Illinois starting linebacker went down, and James, my younger boy, started at Mike. And so he plays on every special teams too. And he ended the year, starting about the last 5 or 6 games at middle linebacker with Josh playing center. I thought that's what I always wanted, right? I was like, got to get James on the field, and it is what you want. But man, was I exhausted. Me and my wife both said after the game, because there was never a play where one of them weren't in there playing. And every time I thought, okay, the offense is going to punt, I'm going to take a break here. I forgot James was coming out on the punt team, and then he was playing middle linebacker. You're just, you're like, okay, like, don't screw this up, right? Like go in there, and you're like, the whole time, I'm an old ball player, like you guys know, and everything to me is wrong, right? Like, you gotta get your foot in the right place. Like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? This year, James sent me film, and I was watching it with him, and it's some clips of him play middle linebacker. And I said, James, I've told you a million times, I want you to blow that center's head off in spring ball. And he goes quiet. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I said, James, are you there? I want that guy's head blown off, right? And he like, in like no sense, he like, finally he goes, Dad. I go, yeah. He goes, that's Josh. I go, Dad, maybe not. Maybe don't blow up your brother. Maybe don't blow your brother up. I'm sorry. You know, so I said, I don't want too much brother-in-law going on, but I said, I understand, man. You're not coming down here and try to take that guy's head off.
That's funny because we were interviewing some folks yesterday. Well, Drew Dahlman, his dad, Chris Dahlman, former 49er. Tom asked him a great question. You know, who's the first person you call after a game? He calls his dad, and they break it down. Do they call you as well first thing after a game?
Yeah, they do, and we talk. And I'm at most games there in Champaign, and we talk after every game. And it's awesome, man. I mean, like you guys know, you can't force them, right? You can't force them to play this game. You can't force them to love it, but they do. So got lucky there, and I get to talk to them after every game and learn the game from a middle linebacker's position, right? And sometimes I call Bob Babbage and talk to him about, you know, he's retired now, so I figure he's a perfect guy to talk to about linebacker play and what he should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, and just really enjoying that part of it. And even my daughter plays volleyball at Miami, Ohio now, and I get to learn that game, right? And of course, I'm an expert at it. Just trust me. She's rolled her eyes a million times at me. So the more I've learned about that game of volleyball, the more I realized, like the first 3 years, boy, was I screwing her up. Everything I said was wrong.
Well, you are I mean, you're a father of 6. Like you got some of the pipeline yet. So, James, 6'2", 225. I checked on the U of I website. I don't know if that's accurate. Junior linebacker. Had a 12-tackle game against Rutgers last year in Kyle Monangai, so you could tell us about that guy. And then Josh.
I watched it, man. I watched it before that game, and I was like, James, you better buckle up. Because this guy, I mean, you never see one guy tackling Monangai, man. I mean, he was tough on film in college. So, yes, I have watched him play, and he is tough. He's a tough football player.
Heck of a pass pro guy. And then Josh, 6'2", 290. Is that about right? Playing the center position. Team captain. Senior season, 2-time All-Big Ten, and then daughter Grace, freshman at Miami, Ohio, one of 4 daughters, so you can fill us in on the other ones. But
pray for me.
Hey, I had 2, and it about killed me.
I don't care what religion you are, just pray for me. And if you don't have religion, then do your breathe for me. Just do something for me, because I suffer.
So so what are they love the game. NFL is in their cards?
We'll see. They have to improve, right? They have to keep getting better. They have to keep working on their game. And you guys know what it takes to play in the NFL. And you know how few guys do it. And you know, like the transferring your college game to the NFL game and making the corrections and adjustments and working and getting to where you got to be. I would say they have a chance. I don't think either of them are guaranteed. And they still have a lot of work to do.
Hey, Olin, does the NIL complicate the process for these kids? Are they always thinking of what could possibly be out there, or are they being enticed by somebody else, or is it they're settled in at Illinois, they're ready to roll until they get done?
Of course it does. It does for everybody, right? The money is out there. It's extraordinary how much money is out there. Josh is, you know, he's a Kreutz. He wants to be where he is, right? He never even thought about it. He's going to play for his team. He's going to stay in Illinois. You know, he went to play high school football at Loyola. He's all in there. So, and so is James, and they just believe in that. But as far as this NIL goes, man, it's crazy out there. I don't know what parameters are going to put around it. The game is still great, right? The game is still great. It just tells you how much money the people involved in college football are making and have been making. And a lot of times these guys who are yelling about it's broken are the ones who broke it, right? You're saying it too long. You're saying a system too long that just you knew it wasn't going to work. There was, you know, once you start making, what does the NFL make? Got $15 billion? The college is making something close, man. There's just a lot of money out there. They got to find a way to put parameters around it and make it fair for everybody, but also stop acting like you don't have to pay the players and the coaches are just going to get paid. And now they're in a system that's a wild, wild west. And really, the coaches who were in there the longest, the coaches who are watching it, the administrators, the NCAA, they're really the ones who broke it. It's not the kids' fault, right? The kids just going through the process of the rules and everything that's going on there. So the same people who broke it now are scrambling to fix it and saying, well, I mean, it's unfair and these kids are crazy. They're hard to coach. They're making so much money. That's why when most of these coaches are driving to their $10 million homes in Florida, they're worried about the system that's broken.
It's dominoes. I mean, the transfer portal, Hey, I'm sure the carrot was dangled to both of your sons. I mean, you don't have to say
it's
either
always
way.
there, right?
Yeah.
It's always there out there, and you always know it's an option now. And that's it's hard even as a parent, right? Because you want to teach, stick it out, work through it, get better, stick where you are, stop complaining about things and all these stuff. But I'll tell a little story about even Josh, who's now going into his third year starting. They were bringing in some portal guys, some portal centers, and we talked about it. And I called coaches around, and Josh ended up staying there. And I just told him, I said, well, if you're going to stay, then you got to go there and beat these guys out. But I called coaches that I highly respected guys, and I said, look, I tell my son, you should stay, you should work, you should compete, and they said it's not like that anymore, Olin. It's not. You got to watch, because if they bring a guy in and they pay him, they got to play him. Oh. So it's just there's a lot going on. There's about this other side of the story that a lot of people don't hear. A lot of times you hear like the school side, the coach's side, hardest to recruit. There's also the player side too, that they're going through the same process of dealing with something that's brand new for everybody.
Did either of you ever would have imagined in your wildest dreams, with life progressing as rapidly as it does on an annual basis, that there would be actual general managers going out and scouting and getting players for colleges? Like this is blown up, and that's big money. I mean, both of you guys could get the call. Hey, help us out. I mean, you could have never imagined.
I could never imagine it, because I'm so far behind with being drafted in '83 that it was never even a process you considered. You just wanted to stay eligible, graduate, and get into the NFL. Those were get into the NFL, graduate, and that was my goals, anyways.
You could, I mean, if you were watching, if you watched it, played in it, you kind of felt something coming after a while when coaches were getting $100 million contracts. And what was it? What did the guy who went to USC get? I mean, he got like houses, private jets from the school.
Right, Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, that's Lincoln Riley. It's kind of like, okay, like eventually with all this happening, guys, what are you going to do for the players, right? What are you going to do for the guys that are actually playing out there in the stadiums, getting the TV contracts? It just was interesting, and it's interesting to watch right now how they're going to do all this and how they're going to get their arms around it and get it moving in the right direction again.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. Our broadcast teammate is your old teammate, and I guess your boss at Carmel High School, Jason McKe. Jason, first of all, how proud are you of J-Mac and the other guys, Rashid, and anybody that has gone into coaching and helping out these young guys. It's quite a thing. I think J-Mac loves it, and he's thriving in it, and you work with him firsthand in that. How would you assess that, and how proud are you of him?
You guys work with J-Mac, Jason McKe, man. I don't know if there's a better human being out there who helps kids, who works with his family. I know his wife's a big part of Carmel Catholic, too. The amount of work he does up there at Carmel Catholic and the number of things he deals with, from parents, from administrators, from getting that football program moving in the right direction, training kids at 6 a.m, getting guys going, calling kids, meeting with colleges for kids to go to college, working with them, mentoring them, helping them with their life problems. Look, I just go up there and install power. Oh man, I go up there, I yell at people, right? I mean, J-Mac, he lets me just do my thing. I enjoy coaching with him. Rasheed Davis, another former teammate who I enjoy coaching with, big cats over there at Lake Forest High School. We train in my gym. We talk about it. But as far as Jason McKe goes, man, the amount of work he does for the community, getting things moving in the right direction at Carmel, you can't help but respect it and love to go up there and try to help them in any way you can.
Olin, I think in every community, my brother's been coaching the freshman program for 30 years at Joliet Catholic. My nephew's the offensive coordinator. But in our community, we have a gym. It's called Rudys Gym that brings in all the high school athletes around the area, both boys and girls, and they do an incredible amount of work developing the confidence with these kids. Is that the same program that you have going in your weight room, or how do kids get attracted to your gym?
Mostly it's for kids I know, and they're a little older because with my family and stuff. I'm mostly only over there in the morning, right? But I have kids, and during COVID time in Loyola, I had a ton of kids in there, obviously training, and there wasn't a lot of places to go, and there wasn't school going on, so we had those kids in there. But right now, mostly it's old. I get a lot of college kids. I get some high school kids in the summertime, but mostly it's just through word of mouth and people I know, and they come to the gym and we help them train and develop. And it's more of like an offensive line friendly system, but we also have running backs and wide receivers, and like strong is strong, and the weight room teaches you all kinds of things. If you know how to spot, put weights away, put things where they belong, learn how to pay attention. The one thing I ask these kids nowadays, Tom, you'd be amazed. I say, how much weight is on that bar? And they don't know. Right, they go to their phone like, I said, no, you're not gonna get your phone, right? We're not adding the weights up, right? And then I'll say put a quarter on. They don't know that's 25, right? Put 225, put 275, 135. What's 185? They don't know. They have no idea. I always tell them I have weight room and chicken fight math. That's what I do. Right? My math is from those two things, and it seems to work pretty well. But the weight room is great for everybody. We do have some young kids. I wouldn't say I'm like I'm not an open gym to the public where everybody can come in, but if someone asks me and I know them and we have time, we will help them train. And it's good because my two boys are in there, and they're thinking about those kind of things, what they want to do after football and stuff. And everyone trains in there. And we have, remember former Bears center Sam Muster for his brother PJ Muster for been with me a long time. We have a bunch of big cats in there with his son, and he's playing at Quincy. And we just have a bunch of people in there training. J-Mac's son Jordan was in there today with another lineman that I've known at Carmel. So just a good place for guys to come, and really more of like, former players too need somewhere to go, and mental health sometimes is punching each other in the face, so we'll do that, boxing and wrestling, and everyone will leave feeling a little bit better about what they're doing.
It's amazing you talk about loading the bar, because I always said if I was a general manager in the NFL and I had a guy that I was thinking about drafting, I would say, hey, let me follow you around the weight room and put on 275 and see if you're thinking about it or you know how to do it, or show me the 50-pound dumbbells and see if they can walk right to them. And it's kind of funny that you bring it up. For whether it's your generation or my generation, the weight room can really tell a big story about what your percentage of being successful is going to be.
Right, and then like what you're saying, at the end of the workout the other day, I said, guys, probably a lot of these guys are going off to college. I said, probably the best way I can help you is this. I watched a lot of guys today. I explained an exercise. 3 guys did it, and the last guy did it wrong. I said, your coaches are watching that. Like, make sure you're not doing that. If someone's doing it in front of you or someone's explaining it, make sure you're watching it, doing it correctly. And then I said, if there's time to put weights away, take weights off, make sure you're helping, make sure you're spotting. Most guys nowadays, someone goes to work out and they're looking at their phone, right? And it's just like, okay, like someone has to spot this guy. So like you're saying, Tom, you can learn a lot from somebody just watching them in the weight room, what they care about, what they think about, and what the weight room teaches an athlete. And the kind of guy you're talking about, like all these football teams, I always hear them say they want culture. I never hear them define it. I never hear them tell me what is their culture. How do you create culture, and what's the kind of guy you're looking for, and where do you look for culture at? And what you just said, Tom, is what they need to know. Where do you look for culture at? You look for it in the weight room. You look for the guy you want, and what's he doing in there?
Olin, the great Clyde Emmerich, he never allowed chalk in the weight room because it made the weight room dirty. So does an Olin Kreutz, does he allow chalk in the weight room? And the chalk is something that you put on your hands for a better grip on the bar.
We do use chalk. I will say, like, they'll go in there and I'll be like, okay, we're not chalking for 100-pound dumbbells, guys. Like, we can chalk for the 140s, the 150s and stuff, but we have it. But we do have to wipe down and mop after. And that's one of my favorite things to do is I hand a mop to like a young kid or a player, and to watch them try to use a mop is hilarious. And usually what I'll do is I'll film the first time someone mops, because that's the number one thing they can improve on is their mop. And, you have to control the mop. You can't let the mop control you. Is a saying in our gym.
And my oldest daughter Kelly, which you know, Olin, is a competitive weightlifter now. She tells me that chalk is antibacterial. So, yeah, she's way ahead of the curve
Clyde
on the
just thought it
biology.
made the floor dirty.
Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffel's a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffel's is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. All right, Olin, you're an analyst on 670 The Score. Outstanding what you're doing there. And in season, off season, your analysis is right on the money. How do you feel if this were a stack right now, the Chicago Bears? And let's begin at the offensive line because we interviewed several of those guys yesterday, and I said, that interior three is kind of the billboard for the season. That's where it's going to start, and you guys got to be the leaders, and let's go.
Yeah, you can't not be excited about Tooney, Dahlman, and Jonah Jackson, right? And Jonah Jackson, we all want to see him. When he was in Detroit, man, I don't know about you, Tom, but I was a really big fan of his. I thought he moved guys off the ball. Thought he came off the ball. I thought he got after guys. I actually, at one point, he was playing the best football of all the guys on the Lions' offensive line. And was surprised they let him go. So excited for him to be there. Interested to see what he looks like at right guard. Obviously, we know the professional that Joe Tooney is. And then Dahlman, man, just a good young center. Excellent on outside zone, right? Fun to watch play football over there in Atlanta. So they really spent a lot of money there, which, is music to my ears, right? To rebuild that offensive line. And Darnell Wright keep taking another step. And I think he's going to be, I think he has a chance to be a really good football player. And I have a lot of respect for Coach Rochar and what he does and the things he believes in and the fundamentals and the way he likes guys coming off the ball and the drills he uses. So I am excited about the offensive line and see what they can do with it after putting those assets in there, and we'll see which direction they're going. And like you guys know, that's the unit that leads, right? That's the unit that you win late in the year at Soldier Field in late December. That's the unit that has to take over the game.
It's funny because I'm thinking about the Bears offensive line and kind of the rebuilding process. Then I think about the offensive lines around the division. So you got Frank Ragnow, who retired yesterday, and you're going to try to make a guard into a center at Green Bay, and you're going to try to make a guard into a center at Detroit. The difficulty of that, I was a backup center, but I was no good. I was just doing it because I could do it, and I don't think it's that easy. So it's going to be interesting if you just look at the center position in the division, that how it's all going to work itself out.
Yeah, it will be interesting, right? And just, to throw it back at you, Tom, I was a backup guard my rookie year, and I was no good. So I think I was supposed to be a center, but that'll be interesting, right? I know the Packers went after Aaron Banks, Notre Dame prospect, and added him, and we're going to move Elton Jenkins over, which will be interesting. He's a big guy. I think he's a really good guard, so interesting choice by them. And then, like you're talking about with Frank Ragnow, I think the Lions drafted a kid.
Tate Rutledge.
And they're going to try to move him to center. And I'm sure it's kind of a surprise for them, right? But Frank's been struggling with injuries over the last 2 or 3 years. And nowadays, with the money these guys are making, you can see early retirements more and more coming your way, right? But they still have Penei Sewell, they still have Taylor Decker, and they still have Glasgow, and they're still very good up the front, especially when you got Penei Sewell and Decker as your bookends. But center is an important position, right? And I know that the Vikings threw money at Will Fries and brought over the coach center too, and they've revamped their offensive line and drafted a guy, and everyone knows that eventually right now, man, like you have to win. That the Eagles have shown us there's a way to win this game. It's front at the line of scrimmage, either stopping and run, getting after the passer, or protecting your quarterback and running the ball. So interesting with the way the North has gone here, but it's good to see the Bears have a young guy in Darnell Wright who can maybe ascend and be their culture setter, their leader. Have a young guy in Dahlman there at center. Same thing. Jonah Jackson, Tooney can show them the way a little bit, right? To see develop someone over there at left tackle and try to compete the way they want to compete there with the way they put money in that offensive line.
Yeah, interesting. Every division team has a new center here in 20. And I listen. The idea is they got to see the game through the eyes of the quarterback. You guys got to be on the same page in that regard, and the play caller, in this case, the head coach as well. So it's not a position of insignificance by any means. I know people don't think it's sexy, Olin. I mean, I got to tell you, I got to have a good center. I got to have a bad man at center. I got it. And Tom and I were talking about this today too, about size. What do you prefer? Like, what's the ideal center in terms of size? Not necessarily. You're going to be about 300, a little under 300 to play the position nowadays. But does the height matter to you? What do you think?
No, if I turn the film on, if he's blocking somebody, I'm good. Right?
Yeah.
If he's blocking somebody, if he's getting things moving in the right direction, if he can point out where a blitz is coming from, he can help the quarterback organize certain aspects of the football game, right? And they always talk about quarterbacks processing information. Centers have to do the same thing, right? Centers have to process information at the pivot in a matter of 12 to 15 seconds. Get everybody lined up, get everybody moving in the right direction, especially in the run game, right? If you look at a coaching staff, you always have an OC, a pass game coordinator, and a run game coordinator. On the field, the quarterback is the pass game coordinator, and the center is the run game coordinator, right? You're the guy coordinating the run game, studying the run game, studying where matchups are, where to get the point, where to get the double teams moved to, how to get an advantage, how to get a +1 on the defense. So centers are really important. Obviously, I'm a former center, but as far as size goes, I mean, Joniak, you get me over 6 feet. If you're over 270 pounds, I'm good to know. Jason Kelsey just showed you that that a smaller center can do. But now listen, it's like a basketball team to me. And Tom can disagree with me if he wants, but like if you get a small center, get him a big guard. Right?
Okay.
You get a big center, get him a small guard. Right? You're trying to make a power forward, a small forward. Someone's got to be on the second level, blocking linebackers, and then you got to be strong enough. And that's where small centers, the weight room comes into play. Everyone said, "Well, why did you love the weight room?" Well, I needed to be in there, right? I needed to be in there, getting stronger, straining through weights. If you get a guy who's 330 pounds, 6'6", 6'7", guys like Olin, he doesn't train. I say, man, if you have his genetics, yeah, fine, don't. Right? If you're that kind of monster, right? I always tell my kids, Dad, we're working out there. I say, you are, because you have to, right? With your genetics, you better get in that weight room and you better work out and you better get strong. So as far as the size goes, whatever you have there at the pivot, whoever you think is a good football player, just make sure you're building around him that's matching whatever his weakness is. My best years were always with the Ruben Browns, the big Roberto Garzas, the Chris Valerios, the Todd Perrys, right? When I walked out one time, I remember telling Jerry Angelo, I said, Jerry, I'm the tallest guy in the middle walking to the line of scrimmage. Do you see that as a problem, right? Like, I love Josh Beekman, but me and him shouldn't be walking together to the line of scrimmage.
Hey, Olin, I wasn't going to ask you this, but I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
So in my 40 years of being around the Bears, I think I've seen two centers that I believe that can run the tush-push, and that's you and Hilge. When you look at that play from the point of view of the center, is the mandatory job that it has to be done by the center? You have to have a quick snap, you have to earn leverage, and then get some movement. How do you what do you think about the center position and the specifics of that play?
Yes, pad under pad, right? And can you keep your feet moving forward, like you're saying, at that height, right? So most guys can dive and they're done. Right, they can't keep moving, keep digging their feet forward. So that takes a lot of athleticism. By athleticism, I mean we can go into it, right? Like your ankles have to be able to move in that direction. It takes a guy who can do that, like you're saying. And when you really study that play, like you guys probably have, I remember watching J.C. Kelsey. His hands are actually on the ground. I thought to myself, well, if you want to stop the play, step on their hands. But I'm sure they can't do that, right? So, but it's just it's a rugby play, right? Like, as Tom knows, I grew up in Hawaii. I've watched a lot of rugby. Polynesians are huge on rugby. It's that pile play, get them moving, and they have a 650-pound squatting quarterback. Like, I don't know what you're gonna do there if the center and the guards can keep their feet moving with that pad level, and your quarterback is that strong. And I don't know what Saquon Barkley, who backward jumps over guys, I don't know what he squats. So that play seems very specific to the Philadelphia Eagles and what they're capable. And I think you guys probably noticed, but Kelsey, he scouted Cam Jurgens, right? He had them draft Cam Jurgens and bring him in, and then taught him how to play center. And then there's another thing that the Eagles do, right? They don't let the guys leave, like Fletcher Cox taught Jalen Carter, right? Kelsey taught Cam Jurgens how to play center. So when they have someone great, it's just a smart thing to do. When you have someone great, amazing at a position, why not draft somebody and let them teach them how to play that position?
Excellent point. Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles, like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and a room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears and you too. Handicap the left tackle, because I think it'll be the number one story at training camp. Who wins that job?
Who wins that job at left tackle? I haven't seen any of Ozzy Trapillo. I haven't seen him play. I'd be lying to you if I told you I did, and I don't. And like you guys know, you have to see him against this level of competition. And then you guys see him in pads, and then you guys see him week 1, and then you guys see how he adjusted week 2, and when they figure out what he's bad at, can he adjust to that? Right? Those are the things we all know what it is takes in the NFL, man. They study, all of a sudden you got guys in buildings for 9 hours studying just how to beat you. So that's one thing we have to watch with him. But with Ozzy Trapillo there, Braxton Jones, Karan Amagaji, they have 3 guys who can go after. I don't know what Braxton's health is like. Karan Amagaji, I saw him a couple of times in my gym, twice to be exact, and he had that quad, and he was just trying to get it strong and get that leg moving in the right direction. And for him to kick straight back and reload that leg and that hip and that ankle and get moving, I don't know where he is now. So it is a question mark there at left tackle, and it's a good question. And if I told you I knew who was going to win that job, I don't know. Maybe we can motion coach Loveland over and have him chip over there all day long.
Well, I tell you, we could go on for hours with you, Olin. That just scratched the surface. I knew it would be good, and you delivered in a big way. So we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an honor, man.
Awesome.
You guys are the best.
We'll have you on again sometime.
Thanks, Olin.
Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it, Olin. We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears, and our aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines. Athletico's moving experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. Special thanks again to Olin Kreutz, and for Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.